In this video, I will be talking about microwaves and the unneeded fear surrounding them. I personally think microwaves are super cool, and as a hobbyist and a normal person, they're pretty useful. Now, I understand that the individual that I'm about to use as an example may just be grossly misinformed, or they might just be criminally obtuse, but nonetheless, I don't want to stand by and let precious microwaves be slandered in such a way. Now, when I play some clips of the video, you will notice that I've blocked out this individual's username and their profile. Now, I know the person who runs the profile is not the person in the video. I'm not too worried about people really attacking them because I don't have that big of a following and I don't really care either way. But I feel like it should just for privacy for them.
Just do not switch off. I'm just going to flip you around, guys. This is the basic microwave.
That model is an 800 watt EMG204 Sanyo. Quite old and they last a while.
This is a Geiger counter.
First off, no, that is not a Geiger counter, that is an EMF reader. Specifically, his is a GM3120. The one I'm holding up in the video, which is mine, is an XRC LIF 3121. Now, as most people should know, a Geiger molar counter is significantly not significantly, but they're different from EMF readers. EMF detectors are used to detect electric and magnetic fields. They're also used as stud finders. Now, I couldn't quite read the name on his detector, but his is a GM3120. A good way to tell whether if you can't just look at this detector and tell that it's an EMF detector, you can look at the buttons. It's hard to see, but also the screen, it'll say E field and V/M, which is electric field and volts per meter, and then H field and microtesla. Now that simply means the top one means electric field measured in volts per meter, and the H field is a magnetic field measured in microtesla, which is very slight. 1/1,000,000th of a Tesla, to be precise. The buttons, on the other hand, say AVG/VPP. This stands for average/peak-to-peak voltage. Average is the calculated average value of voltage measured over a period of time, and peak-to-peak voltage is just the difference between the highest and lowest points of voltage waveform. Now, what I'm holding up is a Geiger counter. The specific model of Geiger counter that I use is a GC01 FNI-RST. Now, it's not a very good example for this because it's cheap, and as you can tell, it went crazy at the start. That could happen for a multitude of reasons, but a Geiger counter is specifically used to detect ionizing radiation. Mine uses microsieverts per hour, milliroentgens per hour, micrograys per hour, counts per second, and counts per minute. I could probably make an entire second video, one on its own, just to talk about Geiger counters because they're really cool. The one I use is, like I said, it's cheap. It doesn't quite specify what type of ionizing radiation, whether it be beta, gamma, or alpha, X-rays. It doesn't specify. So once again, no, that is not a Geiger counter. That's an EMF. I feel like that should be common knowledge, but I don't blame him. If you search up Geiger counter on the internet, an EMF reader might come up first. I don't know why that happens. I suppose to the untrained eye, if you went online and searched up Geiger counter and an EMF reader came up first, you would just buy it, because you wouldn't know any better.
I'm going to turn this on. Now watch this, guys. Okay, I'm going in now, look. That is harmful.
This is off to a rough start. This person is mixing up the two types of detectors, and they also don't understand the difference between ionizing and electromagnetic radiation. In this case, we're referring to microwaves. It's in the name. So to start off with a simple definition of what electromagnetic radiation is a type of energy that is made up of electric and magnetic fields. Although it is a spectrum, one side of the spectrum is able to cause cancers and other types of cellular damage, such as X-rays, gamma rays, and UV light, such as that from the sun. Those can be considered types of ionizing radiation because they have high enough energy to, like I said, cause cellular damage. The other side of the spectrum that does not cause like DNA mutations and other things like things that would be characteristic to ionizing radiation would be visible light, thermal infrared imaging, microwaves, and radio. My point is, at normal frequencies that you experience every day, they're pretty normal and not harmful at all. Now, with this logic, this person should also be afraid of visible light. A good comparison that I'm gonna represent is something that we have to deal with, whether we like it or not. Sunlight. Some people need it, some people get too much of it. The frequency sunlight is primarily ultraviolet light, which does have the ability to it's the only type of non-ionizing radiation that has enough energy to cause different types of cancers and mutations in your DNA. Sunlight has a frequency from around 750 terahertz to 400 terahertz, while microwaves have from, I think it was 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz. Obviously, there's about, I'd say, sunlight is probably around 1,000 times higher in frequency than microwaves. So in reality, you should be covering up at all costs when you go out in the sun. Obviously, that's not the case. People walk out in the sun all the time. That's why it's usually recommended that you're supposed to wear some sort of sunscreen or sunblock before you go outside in the sun, because the type of ultraviolet light that is typical for causing sunburns and sun damage to your skin is UVB light. Literally, the simplest way I can describe of how microwaves can heat up your food is imagine it just vibrating and shaking around the water molecules in your food, which in turn heats it up.
That is sending out radiation. Electromagnetic. Absolutely ridiculous.
Maybe I was a bit wrong. I'm guessing he does understand that this is electromagnetic radiation. I'll cut him a bit of slack, but it's clear that he doesn't understand that microwaves are relatively harmless when you're using and operating a microwave normally. I'm going to briefly explain what inside of a microwave makes those microwaves, but yeah. So what are those pieces inside of a microwave that makes the microwaves? The answer to that would be a magnetron and a transformer. The magnetron's main purpose is to make the microwaves, and on the other hand, the transformer's purpose is to convert household AC electricity into a voltage that the magnetron can use to to output those microwaves, basically. That's a pretty short explanation on what it is. I could probably make an entire video on its own about the inner workings of a microwave, and primarily what his EMF detector is picking up is what is being outputted from the magnetron as its microwaves, and that is a type of electromagnetic radiation.
It's a normal microwave. You can try it on your own, get yourself one of these.
Now, I actually do have a Geiger counter, and I'm going to be using it for this. I would use the EMF reader I have, but it'd be useless because he's showing the exact same thing, and that's what would happen, because it does release electromagnetic radiation, so it would pick it up. But in order, it'll go from micrograys, microsieverts, milliroentgens, CPS, which is counts per second, and CPM, which is counts per minute. As you can see, each measurement I did falls well within or sometimes even below the normal average range of background radiation that you'd pick up anywhere you're at. Now, it depends on, say, your altitude, and it can depend on other environmental factors, but these are all within the normal range of background radiation that you get from just simply living on Earth. Like, that's normal. The average for micrograys would probably be around 0.1 to 0.3 microgauge per hour. Microsieverts per hour would probably be around 0.06 to 0.2. Milliroentgens would be around 0.1 or 0.05 to 0.2. Counts per minute average CPM would be around 5 to 40. And then counts per second would be around 1 to 10.
It's the most important thing you're ever going to know, so please stay with me until the end.
Strap in, because we're about to get some serious medical wisdom bestowed upon us.
This can cause leukemia in children. It can cause cancer. It can cause cancer cells to accelerate. Human genitalia. Guys, hold on to your balls while you're doing your pot noodles. No joke. It can affect the nervous system, the immune system. It can cause disabilities in children. Wow, this is unbelievable. Vision problems. Anybody got vision problems? Yeah, me. Standing next to a microwave too long, I think. Wow. Tissue development, bone development in children. Liver problems. I just can't believe it. Diabetes, can you believe that? Cardiovasculism disease. Heart disease, that is in other words. Wow. It can affect the electromagnetic field around your own body, guys. The electromagnetic field. That's probably why we all feel shit.
Okay, to start, cross off leukemia and cancer, as we've already established that electromagnetic frequencies such as microwaves aren't capable of causing damage to DNA or cells in the same way ionizing or ultraviolet radiation can. And then for the next claims, I'm not too sure why he just said the word human genitalia and then also listed tissue and bone development without explaining any further. It was very vague, and I'm gonna cross those off as well. The only reason I can maybe possibly think of for microwaves to cause vision problems is if you stuck your head into an operating microwave. Our eyeballs are very wet, and typically when you put something in the microwave to heat it up, most of what's happening is it's just vibrating the water molecules in your food and it heats it up quickly. So that's about really the only thing I could think of and logically assign to vision problems. So no, using a microwave normally will not give you vision problems. Then he says, cardiovascular disease and diabetes. Really about the only correlation I could find between microwaves and the decline in cardiovascular health would be primarily related to diet. Meaning if your diet is mostly microwave food like Hot Pockets and ramen, you're probably going to have some issues later on. And maybe you should worry a bit more about your diet and then, posting false videos on the internet. Who am I, though? Unless, like I said, unless you're opening up the microwave and playing with the operating transformer and electrocuting yourself to death, your heart should be okay. I found a single article talking about immune system damage and microwaves, but it's not specifically talking about household microwaves. It was talking about multi-frequency microwaves, so I doubt they were testing that on actual household microwaves, because again, microwaves are a type of electromagnetic radiation. Maybe that's where he got that from. I'm not too sure. And relating to nervous system damage, yes, our nervous system and all the signals that we use to move and feel things like touch and how we think is primarily run off of electric signals. But like I said, operating a microwave normally isn't going to cause any harm to you. Now, the last claim about our body's electromagnetic fields being damaged, technically we do have a very, 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 very slight we have a very slight field of electromagnetic energy around us because we run off of electricity. But it's so very slight that we have to have specialized, extremely sensitive equipment like MRIs and electroencephalography, EEGs, to even pick it up. So again, using a microwave normally shouldn't harm you at all. That's about it for this. I'd say I hope it helps someone who didn't quite understand how microwaves work that well. I'm sure it didn't help a lot of people. I'd assume most people already know what microwaves are and that they're okay to use. Nonetheless, I'm not saying this person is necessarily in the wrong for not understanding that. Some people genuinely just don't, and that's fine. And they're willing to learn about it. Others are not, though. Others are very combative about the topic. I have had a few arguments about this on some comment sections. Unfortunately, it's a really cool topic. Microwaves I think they're amazing. But other than that, that's pretty much about it. See ya.